Thank you if you are tuning in. I've got a natural fluorite stone, and I would say the majority of the polishing is done on this ring. I recommend masking up when you're going to do polishing, so you don't want to breathe in all that dust. And you want to take the straps and put one over your ear and one under, and then pull the mask over your face like this, squeezing the little wire piece up here. And then anytime you're using rotary equipment, you want to wear safety glasses. So I'm working with a flex shaft. It's an SR series Fordham. This ring band it was two single bands that I fabricated out of sterling silver, like a thin kind of rectangular wire, and then soldered it together at this point here, and then created this I would say two-part setting that's like double walled for the natural fluorite stone. The cat is trying to get involved here. I wouldn't mind, he's very cute. Alright, so I like to do a lot of pre-polishing along the way so that when I actually get to the last step, I don't really have to do a lot. I'm going to use a series of polishing tools. Probably going to go with silicone grinders and a unitized wheel. So I really like these white silicone polishing wheels. They come in a variety of like shapes and sizes. This kit is sort of ancient. It's not called this anymore. I think it's called, the brand is Dedico. But they make several shapes, and the shapes that I have in this kit are a wheel, a knife edge, and a barrel, like a cylinder. So right now, I'm going to change out the attachment silicone piece that's in this mandrel, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a shortcut on how I do that. So I'm just going to click my flex shaft into reverse. And then I could hold on to the shaft of the mandrel and just lightly unscrew the silicone piece. And then I'm just going to hold on to it while I gently press on the foot pedal. Now put the flex shaft back into forward. Place the other silicone piece on the bench and then push the screw down through it. Now get it back lined up, and you want to let go kind of quickly. Hold on, I'm going to let my cat out here in a sec. You'll have to let go kind of quickly as this screws in, so pressing gently on the foot pedal. Once it gets screwed in sort of all the way, you'll hand tighten it, and then that's good to go. I love these white wheels. They're like magic eraser for metalsmithing. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of cleanup to do, but I want to go right into those edges, keeping the wheel flat on the surface. And I'm just kind of pressing gently. You don't want to hang out for a long time. Right now, my goal is to clean up any solder seams or like scratches, imperfections on the surface. These are snap-on mandrels. It has a little square shape at the end here. And then it has, if you like squeeze it together, you can pull off the sanding disc, and if you look, there's like a little slot down the center. And through that shape, it holds it through a friction fit onto the mandrel. Anyways, I like these. When I'm using this snap-on sanding disc, you kind of flex the tool and then use the edge of it. So I'm going to press down with the sandpaper, moving back and forth across the area where I was seeing some imperfections. Sometimes I'll go back and forth, sometimes I'll just go in one direction. My goal here is to make the surface smooth, removing any inconsistency with the silicone polishers are a little bit tricky to get everything really smooth when you have a larger surface. And this stone setting is a little bit tall. So this is pretty much guaranteed to give me a flatter surface. I'm just taking out, there's a very tiny divot there. Also, I have a little benchtop ventilator, which I like to put on to suck out the majority of the dust. And it's a Fordham brand. You put little filters in it. I really like these diamond files. These are like a 8-inch diamond file. I saw they were selling them at Rio now. If you've been working with your sanding disc for a little while and you feel like it's lost effectiveness, you might want to change out to a new one. I do save these, like after I use them on a piece, I'll save them for a little while because they might work on certain applications, but they do lose their grit over time. So I started with the coarser grit, the 150. Next up, I will do 220. Because right now I'm controlling the flex shaft with a foot pedal. So I'm going to go over every area where I did the previous grit, just on the setting. Alright, that's getting more smoothed out. I'm still seeing a little spot there. I think I'm going to go back to the coarser grit now to get it out. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, although I am attempting to overcome that, and then my new motto is progress over perfection. The white wheel is probably comparable to 220 grit sandpaper. That's my estimation. Oh, my cat is trying to get in. Come on. Put the screw through the hole in the knife edge. Try to do it towards the bench and not towards yourself, because it would probably really hurt. Notice how as I'm screwing this on here, I'll let go really quick once I feel it's like pretty tightened on there, because I don't want to accidentally grind into my finger. And if you do this thing, it could be pretty aggressive, so you have to be careful with that technique. My cat likes to be involved. I just need little cat safety glasses for him. I wish that I had that. Well, he probably wouldn't wear them. My cat likes to chew on plastic. It's weird. I call him Mr. Microplastic sometimes. I think that looks pretty dang good. As I mentioned before, when I think my mic cut out, you want to stay parallel with the silicone polisher, parallel to the surface you're working on, and just kind of touch down once you get to the ring part. So you're not going to hang out long. And And you want to have a soft touch with these. It helps to have your jewelry supported on a bench pin or similar surface, holding it still. Okay. Now I actually want to hit this from another angle, so I'm going to go at it from this way, and maybe even kind of this motion. So like a little bit of a back and forth and a little bit of sweeping. I'm just trying to get that solder seam and make sure it looks smooth. Yeah, I'll play around with the barrel or cylinder shape. And one of the things that's really fun about silicone polishing wheels is that you can shape them. So I'm going to take this little grinding or sharpening stone and just hold the polisher still and press it up against the surface there. I usually do it down low in my drawer, like down here, because it's very dusty. And then I'm going to sort of angle that pencil shape that I created up into the solder seam. I'm going to sweep side to side, just a little, like a little half circle kind of motion. These change shape pretty quickly, so I'm going to reshape it. Put it so you can see here. A little bit more. Okay, now I got that sharp point that I was looking for. Help me get right up to the edge of the solder seam. Let's see if I can angle this so you can see what I'm doing. It's hard to angle it so I can see and you can see. All right. It's fun to play with the different shapes of these tools and just kind of see what works, and you might use a variety on one piece. So I'm done working with this grit. I'm going to switch out to the black. I'd say the black polishing wheels are comparable to like 400 grit approximately. Starting out with a knife edge, I'm going to shape this up a little bit using the Dremel dressing stone. I'll do it up here so you can see. The black ones are a little bit harder to shape. Like, they just don't, they're not as responsive to being shaped as the white ones, but you can do it. You just have to sit with it for a minute. This one even kind of changed shape. That's sharp enough of a knife edge to get up to where the solder seam is in between the setting and the ring. And if you've ever bought Dremel stuff, like a kit, you probably have a dressing stone in the kit. These little blue, rectangle things. One of my favorites, which is the unitized wheel. This I also use on the buffing wheel, on the buffing station. A much larger size, it's about 6-inch wheel. And they usually call that a deburring wheel. And this one is called a unitized wheel, but it's the same material. And these are my favorite one, I would say. And they don't work for everything because they don't really get into like tiny crevices, but they're great for broad overall surfaces. I've been metalsmithing for almost 20 years now, and I kind of have the same polishing tools that I stick with on most pieces. This is one of the ones that I use on like everything. The white wheels too. I use those on pretty much everything. I'd probably say this is comparable to like 400 or 600 grit. These come in different grits, and this one's the fine, and I think there's an extra fine. So this one is, I would say, pretty similar in grit to the black wheel I was just working with. I like to hold the flex shaft like a pin. So not like this, but like this. It takes some getting used to, but that's what I prefer. I really feel like I have more control that way. So we're looking across the piece, we're trying to get every surface. So do a little bit at a time, always making sure I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm always kind of checking, like, is this giving me the result I want? Because if it's not, I want to switch out my tools, and I don't want to do any damage. But typically, after fabrication is done, it's like a big sigh of relief for me, because usually things don't go south after you're done working with the torch, because things can kind of fall apart, unfortunately, sometimes when you're doing soldering. But metal's so malleable, and that's one of the things I love about it. I feel like it's very forgiving. And, you know, you can keep repairing with it, or repairing it, and if, you know, if a piece is just scrap metal, you can melt it down and make something new. Here I'm working with the black grit again on the silicone wheels, using the barrel shape. I want to sharpen up this edge to like a pencil shape. I'm going to do it down here just because it's dusty. And now I'm just pressing in one spot, and I'm sitting really still with that flex shaft handpiece. And I'm pressing pretty hard. Definitely always a good idea to wear a mask for something like this. I'm almost done with what I would call the pre-polishing. Typically, I use a tumbler at some part in the process. And I use that to help with the pre-polishing. So I use some little abrasive plastic pyramids, and they do some of the sanding for me. And then I also use steel shot, which can help harden, like work harden your metal. Also it can create a high polish. I'm gonna go along this edge just to like soften it out just a little bit. Okay. I feel like this stone is, when I put it in here, that the bezel is too tall for the stone. So I'm going to have to sand that down a little bit, but I feel that I'm done with the pre-polishing. Oh, there's a little spot that's bugging me. Well, whatever, it's the inside of the ring. Okay. Here's my little yellow, I think it's like cotton or muslin polishing buff. I'm gonna put this down a little bit. I've got sandpaper. It's what would go on a belt sander, and it's like stuck. It's like a sticker basically, and it's stuck onto a flat piece of plexiglass. So that's a really handy thing that I have in my studio. I'm going to use that to sand this down a little bit. And I know this stone fits one particular way. Yeah, that's it. Also, there was a rainbow in there, and I really want to make sure that part's visible. I feel like I don't want to take off a lot of the bezel, but I do want to take off some of it because it will create a problem when I'm setting the stone. So grab a fine point Sharpie. And I'm going to mark, I'm trying to get it in here, mark along the perimeter. Let me sit back down. Where there's like a little bit of an excess bezel sticking up, and I'm pushing the stone down at the same time. I'm probably marking the stone, but that's fine. I can just remove that Sharpie with rubbing alcohol. All right. Yeah, that's not too much. So now I'm going to sand down the edge, and I want to keep sanding until I don't see the Sharpie line anymore. It's just a very fine, thin line there. Got a little bit of a shadow here, but let me see if I can see this better. And I'm pressing down pretty firmly, dragging it across. It looks like when I was working with it, it changed the shape of the bezel just slightly, so I can like straighten it out against a bench pen. That looks better. I'm going to try pressing a little bit softer. One of the things that can be helpful is to actually mark the entire edge of the bezel with a Sharpie, just to make sure you sanded the whole thing down. And I mean on the top. But I don't know that it's necessary right now. Okay. Now sometimes I'll go in a crazy 8 type of shape like this, but I feel like the bezel just seems kind of fragile to me, and I don't want to. I want to move as little as possible. So I make sure I'm kind of going in one direction right now. And then I'm going to rotate it so that I put even sanding and pressure on both sides. Okay, that looks good. Now, to be noted, it is that once you sand something down like that, you're going to end up having sort of a sharp edge. And so we'll have to take that off. And I'll probably use a unitized wheel for that. Because I feel like this is the best choice for sanding something down with the least risk of doing damage. Does that make sense? Yeah, I love these little things. The unitized wheel. Now, if I had a camera, or if I had my buffing station in here and a camera set up over that, I would just go straight to the buff and sand this edge on that. I don't know with this. I feel like I need to replace this hand piece because it's like it's not holding its grip anymore. I can buy a new hand piece. Yeah, if I had my buff right in front of me, I would just go up and use the gray wheel on there real quick. This will work too. Okay. Now, once I get to this point where I'm feeling complete with the majority of the pre-polish, well, actually all of the pre-polish, I'm deciding what kind of finish do I want to go with. Would I like matte, satin, high polish? Do I want to use steel wool and get more of like a brushed, you know, but slightly shiny surface? And I'm going to go with a high polish. My favorite polishing compound is Fabuluster. It's this stuff. I like this a lot as opposed to Red Rouge because I feel like it has a higher sheen. With Red Rouge, you have to pre-polish with something like Tripoli to really get that mirror shine, and I prefer to save time if I can. I think there's already polishing compound on there, so I'm just going to go straight in and see if it gives me that shine. Something I want to do first that I forgot. Actually, what I'm going to do is charge up the buff. So it's called charging the buff. That really just means I'm pressing the buffing tool into the buffing compound. Kind of going side to side, loading it up so that it's fully coated. That looks good. It's already giving me that high shine there. Now you might find that when you're using a polishing compound that you get like these black spots on there. And that is either your polishing compound getting heated up or you have too much polishing compound on your buff. And something to be noted, when you work with a compound like this, it's very like oily and tends to leave a residue. So a couple of ways you could get that off You could use a ultrasonic jewelry cleaner. You can get a pretty cheap one. You know, probably off Amazon. Or you could get like a jewelry quality one. They work the same, I would say. The ultrasonic sends a little electrical current and it like breaks off compound off of the piece. Or you could just use hot water and some degreasing compound like Dawn soap or ultrasonic, not ultrasonic, or Simple Green. Simple Green is like a degreasing spray that you can get at hardware stores and stuff. Just charging the buff with more compound. The Tucson Gym Show is going on right now. Not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous that for all my friends and colleagues who are out there. That's definitely a bucket list thing. Is the Tucson Gym and Mineral Show. Sometimes if you have a spot where it feels like, I don't know if it's polishing, I get out a rag and then kind of buff it and just see if it looks shiny underneath, because it just might. I'm really trying to get every surface on this ring to an even sheen. I'm sad about that one spot. It's alright, we gotta move on. I can make another one after this one. Okay, don't forget any part, even polishing this edge here and this edge. I don't know if you can see all the dust and like debris flying off this thing, but that's why we wear a mask. Okay, now the next step is that I need to ideally get all of the like gunk off of it, but I think I'm gonna go with setting the stone first and then go put it in my ultrasonic or degrease it with some soap, because it's not really going to be a problem on the inside of the setting here. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, do I want to polish the inside of the setting? Because the stone is translucent, so I wonder how that would affect how it appears. I'm thinking about it. I just don't know if I have a buff that's small enough to fit in there. Ooh, maybe I do. Oh yeah, I'm going to try this little thing and put some Fabuloster on that. Because one of the things that I have been inspired by my students, Robin, who's joining me on the live, is like thinking about how a translucent stone can change color based upon if you put something behind it or, you know, polish the metal behind it. So we've got the Super Bowl today. I don't really care about sports, but I am excited to watch the like halftime show and stuff. And the commercials are always good. Okay. Got some polishing compound on there. Go inside. I don't really feel like that's doing much of anything, but It's alright. It was worth a shot. I'm just going in there with a rag, trying to take off any gunk. And then, like I mentioned, I will clean it up, all this off with soap after I finish setting the stone. So I'm going to set up all of my stone setting tools. I want to use a bezel rocker, prong pusher, maybe a burnisher, not sure yet. What else? I like to have tape and scissors as well. And if possible, it would be cool to hold the ring in some sort of like clamp. Oh, I forgot to polish the inside. Gotta do that first. Like if I can hold the ring still while I'm setting the stone, it will just be a little bit more successful. I think I'm gonna have to go in and remove that rubbing alcohol, or removing the Sharpie before I set the stone. Okay. I don't think this is gonna fit inside the ring, so I'll need to find a buff that I have worn down a little bit more that would fit inside. Maybe. I know I've got something in here. Fit inside. That seems a little too big. It's like I knew I saved these little pieces for a reason. Didn't know what, but now I know. Now when you have to unscrew something like this, it can help to anchor the bit into the flex shaft to kind of get it holding it for you. Because I'm going to use the same mandrel. Actually, I think I'll keep this on here and switch to a different mandrel. Take this off. Doing the flex shaft in reverse, gently pressing on the foot pedal, removing the screw, click the flex shaft back into forward. If you're going to do this trick, you could also just use a screwdriver and like screw it in there like a miniature one, like this size. Oops, just dropped it. Yeah, I would put on music in the background, but I hadn't totally figured that out yet, because I know if you play like copyrighted music, then your videos can get taken down. So I gotta play like, I don't know, like boring elevator music that nobody knows. Alright, so I'm setting up this little tiny used up buff to go inside of the ring, because that part's not shiny yet. And pressing on the end of the screw, lining this up with the piece, pressing gently on my foot pedal. Like tighten that in all the way. Alright, looks like I need to put buffing compound on this. That looks good. Go on the inside. Now I'm not going to go in a full circle. I'm just going to focus on the very bottom. And I'm going to draw like a half circle at the bottom. I can hold it steady here. And then I'll rotate the ring. And just kind of keep focusing and pressing downwards. Rotate the ring, press the tool downwards, drawing a little half circle. I'm going to go on each side of the ring band and do that. Alright, looks good. Alright, we're back. So I used a toothbrush and some Dawn soap, gently, a soft toothbrush, by the way, gently scrubbing this. Want to be careful after doing a high polish not to use like a brass brush or something abrasive because it will remove the high polish. It's called Thermolock. And it's like a plasticky substance that you have to heat up. You have to get really hot water, submerge it, and then you can shape it. And then you kind of shape it around the piece and then wait for it to cool off, and then you can put it into like a vise of some kind. Come on. All right. There's a GRS plate here, which is a pretty handy tool that you can have clamped onto your bench and change out different attachments. This part here is the GRS plate. And I've got a vise that I'm going to use for this part. There are several attachments here, which I'm still determining whether I want to use or not. But you can attach these to the GRS vise and then like hold in your piece with it. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So kind of put these plates in here. Here, and then you can tighten it, anchoring your piece in like this. I don't feel like this is the right solution for this, but I just wanted to demonstrate that. All right, back with hot water and ice water to work with the Thermolock, using tweezers to get it out. That water's really hot. That's what it takes though. This stuff, once it hardens, you can like peel it off of stuff, but it can be kind of sticky. Metalsmithing is a game of patience. How much patience do I have? I feel like you really have to love it, you know, because it takes a long time. Now I'm being careful not to burn myself. Certain parts of it are harder, but other parts are feeling soft, so I'm just going to kind of keep trying to manipulate it and then put it back in the water. Now I want to wrap it around the ring in the setting here, and I want to support it as good as I can. Then I'm going to pop it into my vise here. I'm going to push it down just a little bit, trying to create like a little bit of a ridge here for it to rest on. Keep going a little bit more. And now in order for this to harden, I need to cool it off. I'm going to drop it in ice water. I'm going to leave this in the ice water for just a little bit. You could also put it in the freezer. Inspired to, like, I don't know, I want to have a YouTube community and I want to start teaching more virtual classes. And then I'm also teaching with the Jeweler Saw in Austin, Texas. So if you want to study with me in person or virtually, those are some of the options. There are links in the video down below on carving out space for this stone to fit in here. With patience, the process of it. I actually really enjoy it. I find it very rewarding. I'm using a burnisher and a series of tools to kind of carve that space out for the stone. In a minute here, I'll be checking to see if I can fit the stone in without the thermolock being in the way. Let's check again. Alright, I don't know if you heard that little snap, but now it's fitting in there really nicely. And I've got this shape set up, but I feel like I need to redo it a little bit. Now that the stone is fitting, I'm just going to drop the thermolock setup back into the warm water because I want to heat it up and then put it back into the vise. Okay. Have to heat it up a little bit more until it's sort of malleable. So I just dropped the entire setup into the warm water. The stone is actually in there right now, which is fine. Let's see if that's malleable enough to squeeze into the vise here. I'm going to need a little bit more malleability, so I'm going to put that back in the warm water here for probably about 30 seconds. In the meantime, I'm going to take a peek at one of the pieces I'm working with. This is a stone that I found in North Carolina, and I created a square wire framework that goes around it. And this is designed to be part of an installation. That's what these little spiky posts on the back are, because they're going to be going into the wall. It's a hollow form, and it's meant to be worn kind of like a brass knuckles thing. And there's going to be a little cartoon diamond shaped opal in there. It's a fun little piece. Well, I wouldn't exactly call it little. The GRS thing is cool because you can spin it like this. Fluorite is a soft stone, so when I set it, I will have to be careful. Probably wouldn't want to hammer set this type of stone. It's even questionable having a ring with fluorite because you could easily damage it because it is on the softer side. Before you set your stone, you want to make sure it's sitting in there nice and level in the setting. Alright, now I'm going to set up my stone setting tools just with a little bit of tape. And I like this really thin tape, masking tape. You don't really want to clump the tape on there. Like I'll usually do kind of thin layers. So I'm going to cut like 2 rectangle pieces and 2 little squares. one at a time on the end of this prong pusher. I'm going to put the pieces of tape, wrapping it around until it's pretty flat and like tightly wrapped around the tool like that. One layer at a time. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now I want to set up the bezel rocker. With one layer of tape at a time, mostly trying to make sure it's flat on the top there, so it doesn't create any sort of obstruction that gets in the way of setting. And if you're wondering why am I putting tape on the tools, it's because I'm trying to prevent having to go back and do any more polishing on this piece. Would fluorite be less likely to damage an pendant than a ring? Yes, Robin, because rings tend to take more of a beating. I mean, I love fluorite, and so I work with it even though there's a risk of it being fragile. I'll show you another piece I'm working on. There's a fluorite pendant. It's like a donut. And then it'll fit in here. It did have this little spot that was like sort of breaking, so you have to be super careful when you work with this stone. And then there's like I guess kind of like a prong style thing on this side. Although I feel like I created a style of setting that highlighted like the different occurrences of color in the stone. So I don't know exactly what that would be called, but it was inspired by prong setting, and this side has a bezel on it. But this one still needs to be polished. So if I keep doing the streaming thing, maybe that'll be one of my, one of the ones I do. Now, when we're working with a stone that has like square corners, you want to try to start with the corners of this setting first. Now I'm going to go in starting with the prong pusher. I'm going to focus just really on the top rim of the bezel and like starting with the corners, I would say, while pushing the stone down. Trying to keep it kind of flat in there. Focusing on the corners. And I kind of start sort of parallel to the like shaft of the prong pusher is sort of parallel to the bench surface here, and then I slowly like push it up kind of at a diagonal. And I'm going to go on either side of the corners first. So I'll go to the opposite corner now. I feel like maybe I want to try to zoom this camera in a bit. Bear with me as I get that closer here. Like it goes down and then comes back up. Alright, well. That'll just have to do for now. So into the opposite corner. Oh no, I see. Actually, I just see the setting broke. That spot I was worried about. Did it break? That's like a weak spot. I'm just going to move forward with setting it. And if I want to come back and repair it later, I will. But that spot I was concerned about being a weak spot, it did break right there. Anyway, I'll just move forward with setting it for now. So I'm going to go on the corners, pressing pretty hard, and like my hand and my arm is kind of shaking. And to the next corner. Now I'm going along the edge. I didn't get that other corner yet, but I felt like I need to push this in. I'll get there. Sometimes it can be an issue with bezels, like busting from like sanding too much, or in the case of this, it's probably because I had fabricated this as a prong setting first, and it kind of had some weak points that I just didn't notice until the end. Check on your tool, make sure that the metal isn't peeking through, which it is. What that means is that it'll leave marks behind. And I don't really want to do that on the polished surface, so I'm going to just grab a little bit more tape. 2 little squares. I took off the tape that was on there, and now, again, like I did before, with 1 layer at a time. So I'm just going along and I'm looking for any gaps where there's like a space between the setting and the stone. If I need to go back and like polish up the edge or something, that's fine. I just have to be really careful not to hit my stone. The cat's on the computer. Okay. Now I want to follow up with the bezel rocker, also called a bezel roller. Just kind of rolling it across that edge, trying to close up any gaps in between the bezel and the stone. I'll often use a hammer to help set the stone all the way, but I wouldn't do it with fluorite because it'd probably break. I feel like the stone is, the setting is pushed in as far as I'm going to get it. And so now what I'm going to do is take off the thermoplastic, thermalock. So dropping it back into the hot water. And then I'll have to wait until it gets hot, pull it off, and then the ring will be revealed at some point soon. I might need to boil some more water because this is kind of cooled off. Once it cools off, you can just kind of flake it off of things, like, and it is reusable, or you could, you know, toss it and start with a fresh piece, whatever you prefer. I'm going to get some more hot water to finish the process, and we're almost finished here. Okay, I got some super hot water. It seems like you need to get it pretty close to boiling to get this to really soften the thermalock material. I mean, it takes a little bit of time and process to work with, but I feel like it's worth it. Because it was supporting the rings for me the whole time, and then I wouldn't have to worry about them getting crushed. I was sad to see that one weak spot, but actually I'm not really noticing it, so maybe it was because I only saw it in the optivisors, but well, patience. What else can I show you in the meantime? I've got several pieces in progress. This is another one that's going towards an installation. This would be what I would say like the beginning of a hollow form. Just FYI, you build this like frame. The difference is it's not enclosed, but that would be like the start of a hollow form. But this is brass, and I use like a pretty reasonable gauge, like maybe about 20, and then some square wire on the sides of a thicker gauge, and then I'm going to push the prongs over to set that in there. And that's going to be part of the installation series as well. Well, it seems I didn't get my water hot enough. I just got it out of the faucet, but it seems like you have to boil the water to really get this to work. So thank you for your patience. If you're still with me, you can have a peek at another piece in process while I'm going and grabbing some boiling water. Yeah. All right. I got some boiling water this time. Very hot. The piece is submerged in there with the thermolock. And while that's just sitting in there, I'll tell you about this turquoise pendant that I'm working on. It has a kind of unique back plate, I guess. I like to consider the front and the back of a jewelry piece. So this turquoise, beautiful turquoise stones going in here. And then the bail itself sort of repeats some of the design elements. So you've got this squiggly thing here repeating. And a little tiny baby turquoise is going to go in the bail on the top. It's very cute. So I'm excited to finish this piece. And I was thinking if I'm going to be polishing my work and I want to start teaching virtually, then it would be a good idea just to put my process online. So this is my first experiment in that direction. And thank you if you're tuning in. Thank you, Robin, for all of your feedback and helping me test everything. I feel like this is going to be really hot. Oh, it's super malleable when it's hot, though. Just be careful when you're handling this stuff. Not to, like, burn yourself. Oof. Yeah, I had to use the kettle to boil some water to get this off of here. Once you get the majority of it off of the jewelry piece, you can put it in cold water and then kind of flake the rest of it off. Kind of a mess to work with, but worth it. I'm just going to kind of keep peeling that off of there. I think I'm going to try putting this in the cold water now, seeing if that helps break it off more easily. I've worked with the thermoplastic a couple of times over the years. Haven't quite mastered it, but I do think it's amazing. Thermolock, rather. Well, almost there. It's going to take a bit more patience to get there. This is kind of stuck up there behind the stone. Back in the warm water. I think a toothpick would be a helpful tool here. Or like a bamboo skewer. Once you get the majority, like the bigger chunks out of there, the smaller pieces come off, flake off easier. I'll probably throw this in the ultrasonic too to kind of help shake off any remaining debris. But I just kind of keep going back and forth to the hot and the cold water depending. Feel it needs a little bit more hot water there. We're just about done. I'd say that took me about double the amount of time that I anticipated, but that's pretty normal. Pretty normal. There's just a tiny bit back there, like in the back of the setting. Just a little bit of diligence and we'll get it all out of there. If it's not budging, that means you need to heat it up more. I don't know that you would want to microwave the thermoplastic by itself, though. I mean, like within the water or anything. Like you just want to heat up the water by itself and then place your piece into the warm water. What I liked about this process is that I got to do it hands-free in a sense. I mean, meaning that I didn't have to be holding the ring and the setting while I was setting the piece. Looks like I got it. A tiny bit there. So that is the finished ring. And I feel like it came out amazing. I like the composition of it. I like the shine. It looks like I have a little bit more thermoplastic on there. I'm going to keep working on it off the screen. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Oh, I think you could see that rainbow flash in that. I'm really pleased with that, how that came out. Nice side profile there. I feel like it makes it look more expensive in a way because of the height of the setting and like also the pairing of the split shank, which like I said was 2 rings that I soldered together. Yeah, I'm super happy with how that turned out. And thank you so much for joining my first live experience and bearing with me through technical difficulties. Thank you, Robin. I love the way that came out. This is going to be one of the rings that I wear frequently, I feel like. Just have to be careful not to bang it on stuff. Oops. As I drop it right after I say that. Funny, comedic timing. But thank you guys so much. And Robin, especially a shout out for helping me like troubleshoot this and make sure that stuff was working because I couldn't tell on my end. And I'm going to do some more lives and then hopefully I'll just be like a little bit more organized and streamlined on the next one and won't have to have walking away so much to get hot water and things. But I thank you for your patience, and I want to do either another live or maybe record my process and kind of edit out those pauses. So I will, but I just want to consistently be posting something like once a week. So maybe each Sunday I'll post setting a piece and polishing it. But thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to be notified, you can click that bell and subscribe. Thank you so much. Shout out to Robin. And I hope that you enjoyed watching me finish polishing and setting the stone on this fluorite and silver ring. Thank you and bless you. Bye.